Hi, I'm Natalie Jill, fat loss expert turned lifestyle and high performance coach. Welcome to Listen Up, the podcast. On this podcast, I do what I do best, taking complicated information that is relevant to us now and breaking it down simply with actionable steps you can implement to level up your life. I also regularly interview some of the most inspiring and courageous men and women on the planet who, at their worst, learned how to achieve success greater than anything they ever dreamed possible, creating everything from nothing. If you are new here, I encourage you to go back and listen from episode 1, when this podcast was previously called Leveling Up, for the full transformative experience. Do you think of yourself as someone who lives in possibility or someone who lives in problem and circumstance? It's so interesting because if I ask this question, most people automatically go to, well, I think positive and I think of possibility. But when you really dig deep in what's holding people back, you'll find that it's the circumstance living in your current circumstances that is keeping them stuck. I want to dive into that for a little bit today because gosh, for years and years and years working with clients, whether it was in fat loss space or business and branding, or even back when I was in sales, in direct sales for years in corporate America, what I saw the limitations for people being was whenever they would get stuck in the circumstances of what's going on and then how to get out of that, it was almost impossible for them to create a new vision for themselves, a new life, a new outcome. So my question to you is, currently, right now, in your life, are you stuck in the current hurdles and circumstances and excuses? Or are you living in possibility? So I'm going to give you 2 examples here so you can see yourself in one of these. Example, and I'll talk about fat loss first because I have been doing that for a number of years. If you are on a fat loss journey, do you see yourself currently at your current weight, your pains, what hasn't worked for you? Is that where you find yourself focusing daily, or are you focused on what you want for yourself and the new vision for yourself? And a little hint on that, if you are currently thinking, oh my gosh, nothing's ever worked for me, I've tried everything before, I'm too old, I have bad genetics, then you're actually focusing on circumstances, not possibility or vision. The next example, let's say you're trying to build your business or your brand. Maybe you're trying to do it online or brick and mortar. My question to you is, do you find yourself focusing on what you don't have, what's wrong right now in the country, what you can't do, what you're behind on, your limitations? Or do you find yourself daily focusing on what you want and solutions and a vision for that? See, when I ask that question direct like that in those categories, you will probably find that if you are stuck, you are likely living in the circumstance. So this message is for you today. In order to change things, in order to achieve our goals, in order to get different results than we've already created, we get to operate from what we want and our vision of that. You see, you're always going to get more of exactly what you focus on. Always. So if you stay stuck on what's wrong, what's not working, what hasn't worked, what's broken, what's not going to happen, you are going to get more of that because that's where you're focused. However, when you shift on to what you want, the vision for that, what you would like to create, then you are operating from vision and what's possible, not what currently is, and you're going to attract more of that. So when you ask yourself, what does the future version of myself, what do they do? Like, what do they eat? What do they do? What do they ask? What do they learn? What do they study? Then you become that version of yourself. This is the number one thing I work on with clients because it works. Getting them out of circumstance thinking and getting them into the thought of what they want, the vision, the future version of themselves. Because when you continue to operate from current circumstances, you're going to keep attracting more and more of that. So I personally look at all of my clients, regardless of whether they're coming in for fat loss or they're coming in for business and branding growth. I operate as a coach working with them from their future version of themselves, and that's how we get those results. So where do you go from here? If you recognize that you're operating in circumstance, then interrupt yourself. You interrupt yourself by saying, okay, I'm having these thoughts of where I'm stuck. I'm having these thoughts of what's not working. I'm having all of these reasons that I can't get out of this, current situation. recognize you're having those thoughts first. Stop having those thoughts by switching your attention to what do I want and why? What do I want and why? The more you stay there, the more you are vision forward thinking and the more things start to change. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen in as my guest today. If you found this episode valuable, please share it with friends and on social media. I don't advertise this show, so I rely on word of mouth and reviews to get it out in the world. The biggest thank you that you can give me is leaving me a review, and a nice one, I hope, by the way. This is how others find these episodes. If you do leave me a review, be sure to message me at support@nataliejillfitness.com with a screenshot of your review, because I would love to send you a free digital download of my DSR journal as a thank you. And please don't forget to connect with me on social media at Natalie Jill Fit on Instagram and Facebook.